Hey everybody, and welcome back to Video Game Esoterica. On today's episode we have D2 for the M2. It's probably the most well-known prospective release for the M2 home console. Many different gameplay demos are shown of it, the cinematics do exist, multiple photos are put into different publications, and there was even previews and ads run for the game. Unfortunately, with the M2's home console being cancelled, it is a game that we never did receive, so this is kind of what remains of D2 for the M2. The game did come out on the Dreamcast, but other than the fact that it uses Laura, Warp's main protagonist, there really aren't any similarities between the M2 version and the Dreamcast version. So what we've done here is I acquired all the different discs that had these videos on them. They came from the 3DO Live magazine demo discs from the Japanese publication, as well as the D2 Shock demo that came with a different Dreamcast game. When you put that game into your console and you have a save from it, when you play the main D2 game for Dreamcast, it unlocks some of these cinematics. What I did was I captured them using RGB out into my FrameMeister and then into a capture card for my computer. They were all run through DaVinci Resolve. The color was slightly altered just to kind of bring the black levels down, and a custom mask was used around the video just to show the elements that you see here. Additionally, I did have a native Japanese speaker literally translate all the different kanji you see in the back. It is kind of hard to read, so he did take a bit and made a few assumptions, but he delivered me a literal translation, which we then worked on to go ahead and get this kind of conversational English version. My wife helped a lot with that. We kind of went back and forth and decided the best way to break down what the literal translation meant to how it would sound if we were speaking it in kind of just everyday English. So that is what we have done here. It was upscaled to 1080p. Obviously the original source video is 240p, so there's only so much we can do with the source video. So unless another version of this somehow gets found on the internet or released, this kind of is the highest quality video that you are going to see for it. It kind of just gives a little background of the story. Basically, Dracula, Vlad Tepes, whoever the main character of D2 was meant to be, is having issues having a son, you know, kind of continuing the royal lineage, so he makes a deal with the devil to acquire a child. In the original D, the storyline kind of went that Laura Palmer, not Palmer, that's Twin Peaks, excuse me, Laura, don't know her last name, kind of had some sort of relationship to Dracula. The story of the original D was added in after the gameplay elements were finished, so it's a little bit loose and you kind of have to make some assumptions. But in the end of this trailer, Death or Satan actually steals her baby and brings it back to Transylvania. The gameplay story was supposed to be that you play as her son, trying to escape Dracula's castle. That's really about as much as we know for the story. It is unfortunate that the game didn't come out. D2 for the Dreamcast is a good game. It is one of my personal favorites. I think maybe I like it more than I should based upon kind of its M2 lineage, but this version is definitely the one that I wish we did get. Even if they had remade it for the Dreamcast, I wish the storyline had stayed the same. But unfortunately, we all know how that turned out. To date, there has been no leak of this game. Rumor has it that it doesn't exist. Even Kenji Ino, the main developer and owner of Warp, has said that he destroyed all the development kits once the M2 was canceled out of anger. There's always a rumor now and then that this person or that person may have some playable files, but it's always kind of just turned into a dead end. I've been looking for the files for years now, and no other collector has ever come up with any. I did get the original source VHS tapes from some of the people that worked at 3DO, showing as much of the gameplay that does exist, and I have up-res those into 1080p as well. Obviously, since the original source format was VHS and it was captured in a computer, there really isn't a ton that I can do to restore the quality, but I've done everything I can, and I put up another commentary kind of just describing what you're seeing and, you know, comparing it and contrasting it to some other things like that. But this is what still exists of D2 for the M2. What we did, the audio track came from a mini CD that came with the director's cut of D for the 3DO, so I was able to restore the audio as much as I could and use that CD track, which is the highest quality you're ever going to find for it. This came from the Dreamcast disc. This is kind of the second trailer that showed the storyline of D2. It does have some similarities to the Dreamcast release, just because you do see Laura on a plane, and in this version, her baby is stolen and it seems like the plane is going to crash. In the Dreamcast version, Laura is on a plane and it does crash into the snowy mountainside, kind of kicking off that storyline. Interesting fact is that if you do play the Dreamcast version, they're showing a movie on the plane, and that movie is the trailer from the M2 version of it, so they kind of did sneak in a little hint or two just to show you that this game did exist in a different format. If anyone ever has any information, if this does exist, if you know somebody who's been sitting on it, or you happen to have it, please do let me know. I don't expect to really get much out of that request. It's been looking for this game for probably 7 or 8 years now, and I have never come up with anything. I do have some different scans from different books that were released in Japan, different magazines, as well as probably about 150 different screenshots and magazine scans from previews of the game. But that is literally it. At this point in time, I'm also starting to really believe that there aren't any alphas or betas or playable files of this game out there. It's unfortunate, but I've basically kind of given up my search. You will see here that it kind of plays the storyline from the original D, tying in that Dracula element to D2, which was completely 100% dropped from the Dreamcast version. There is no Dracula. There's kind of like a horror storyline, but it's more like plant-based alien mutants. It gets a little crazy, especially towards the end. But thanks so much for watching. This has been really fun to do, just being able to provide the translation, give as much story as possible, with doing as much restoration work to the video quality as we could. I did upload those gameplay elements as well, with a commentary track and just kind of playing through with nothing going on. They are already up on YouTube, but I did the best I could just to clean them up and kind of describe what you're looking at. But that's about it. D2 for the M2. The most well-known cancel release for the console. This was one of the games that I was looking forward to the most, and when I did find out that it was canceled back in '97, kind of just ruined my day. I had a pre-order for the console and this game at my local EB Games in Vermont, and I did get my $5 back, but I would welcome returning that $5 if we could actually find this game at some point. But thanks so much for watching, guys. We'll be back next week with some more good content. You can follow us at Instagram at Chicago Game Collector. Otherwise, if you have any questions or comments, leave them below, and I'll do my best to answer each and every one of them. Just go ahead and sit back and watch a little bit of this. I did also upload this without any commentary, so you can just watch through it at your own leisure. But thanks so much, guys, and we'll see you next week.